Trades, baby, trades. It's Leafs talk. Brand new Toronto Maple Leafs team. Rejuvenated Toronto Maple Leafs team. More importantly, rejuvenated Maple Leafs talk. JD Bunkis, Ronnie Radio, whatever you want to call it, Rusty Radio, whatever it is, joining me today. Okay, so yeah, Leafs dominate the Habs 5-1. I have a lot from this game. I'm hoping that we can kind of keep this one tighter, but we got to start with the trades because people were asking for emergency podcasts all day. I'm like, listen, you got to chill out. I'm not doing 2 podcasts today. All right. We'll figure it out. We'll get one in today. We'll get one in tomorrow. But yeah, Leafs acquire Noel Acciari. They get Ryan O'Reilly, the centerpiece of the deal. I'm going to ask you this 2-part question. What do you think of the trade? And second part, are we sure Ryan O'Reilly is the actual centerpiece?
Okay, so first of all, nice to be with you. Can you maybe turn your TV off there or something? You're flashing at me a little bit. It's kind of little, it's a little bit
watch
flishy.
The NBA All-Star game.
It's
okay?
a little,
I wanted to have a little bit of the dunk contest in the background. You got to be a rat.
Oh yeah. So you watch the G Leaguers cram at home over a car. Sick. And first of all, what I thought of the trade, I thought it was an incredibly steep price to pay. I think 2 things can be true. I'm excited by the idea of Ryan O'Reilly. I like the acquisition of Noel Acciari as a good 4th line guy. But I just think they paid a lot. And that was my initial reaction. And it's still my reaction. I think it's something that clearly gave the team a boost. You could see it today. Every single guy in the morning skate talked about how incredibly exciting it is to have, make a trade like that, the boost it brings, and you see it on the ice. These guys are fired out of a cannon. It's the best they've played at the start of a game in a really long time. So from that perspective, I think it's really good, but I just think they paid a lot, bud.
Well, that's true. And you already used my 2 things can be true line. So I'm stuck with this now. No, I'm kidding, buddy. I'm with you. Okay. I saw the price and I thought, holy crap, that's a lot more than I would have expected for those 2 guys. Now, they added some salary retention, which adds a 4th-round pick. I think it's a little strange that Leaf fans have so many Leaf fans just seem to not care about draft picks whatsoever, when a big part of this roster for years now has been the fact that they haven't been able to supplement their top-end talent with other draft picks that have been able to come up and provide impact. And yeah, do I understand the case to be made of ship out the picks now because they're not going to help you for 3 years? Yep. It also does kind of stink that they put themselves in this position because I will say, watching them tonight, my biggest takeaway was the same thing that you had, which is all of a sudden the team looks deep. They really needed 2 more forwards. Desperately. And you got to pay for guys like Ryan O'Reilly this time of year, right? Like it's coveted for a reason. Players covet it want it for a reason. Guys who've won Selkies, guys who won Conn Smythe. Like you don't get that cheap come deadline time, especially with a limited amount of players. But yeah, I am a little surprised that it seemed as though people looked at this as kind of like a bit of a fleecing when in reality it's absolutely 2 rental players that the Maple Leafs are getting for a couple months, which is, again, a fine trade for them. I mentioned basically the last 2-3 weeks, I've been kind of pumping the tires for the Leafs to go out and get Ryan O'Reilly. I thought that he was the best available option for them. I stand by it again tonight. But yeah, this kind of is it for Kyle Dubas. And if he doesn't end up staying as the Toronto Maple Leafs general manager, the next guy to take the job is going to go, sorry, what do we have for draft picks?
No, it's Shapiro and Atkins taking over for Alex Anthopoulos. It's it's crazy, the parallel. The cupboards outside of what's on the ice right now are pretty bare. And listen, there's a million fan bases in the NHL would kill to have what the Leafs have. And I'm not whining about that, but one of the big problems with this sort of era, and you mentioned it, is not being able to, bring in cheaper talent, cheap high-end 1st and 2nd round picks that have been able to kind of fill in around the blanks. And you've had to bring in, minimum guys to do it, like your Zach Aston Reeses of the world and your Malgins of the world and these kind of guys.
They just haven't hit on those dudes, right?
No.
They've hit on the Michael Buntings.
Bunting,
right?
And Camp and these kind of guys. But you need some guys that are going to be high draft picks to come in here and contribute.
Yeah. I think that it's pretty clear though that they're just all in. And that's the thing that you realize right now. This team is looking at this as a 2-year window. There's no other way to put it. I think it's kind of important now for the Leafs to try to re-sign O'Reilly and hope that he does end up taking the sweetheart deal. There's a bit of buzz right now that Toronto was a place that he wanted to be, and so St. Louis tried to facilitate it. But to me, just this trade, man, is so perfect for Toronto for a variety of different reasons. You get some guys that can play down the middle on your roster. You get some guys that can get bumped out to the wing. Acciari's a right-hand shot who can play center for you. Ryan O'Reilly brings the pedigree. He brings some of the toughness and size on the boards. You saw it a couple of times tonight. Like, the guy is just strong on pucks. The other thing you really notice is that when you bump him up with the Tavares line, yeah, the pace is not crazy great, but those two guys in front of the net is havoc. That is a problem for teams to try to move those two bodies. And in games where it's going to become playoff hockey very, very shortly here, where it's going to be about getting dirty, gritty playoff style goals, I think you added a guy that is really going to help you in that regard. So all of a sudden, guys just look properly tonight. And I know I'm looking at that with excited eyes, right? And I know I'm looking at that against a Montreal Canadiens team that's full of nobodies, who's it's
rot.
Yeah, they're awful. Yeah. But just the Leafs, they didn't have Ryan O'Reilly in the place that I want to see him mostly, which is the third line center. And then you remember that this team is going to add Matthew Nyes, who had way too much pressure on his shoulders a couple of days ago in terms of what he was supposed to provide for this team. But now you're looking at least 3 forward additions ahead of the deadline with a bonus couple of weeks for Sheldon Keefe to be able to play around with this, build chemistry potentially on a power play unit, penalty kill with a bunch of different line mates. I got to say, I think that this is a win. This is a real win for Kyle Dubas.
You're back.
I'm back.
Listen.
The team I watched tonight, I really like them. And it just removing that level of AHL caliber talent, and kudos to Pontus Holmberg, who had some really good games for this team and had some moments with this group, and someone who I think can contribute down the line in the future. I thought you could see that the NHL schedule was starting to wear on him a little bit. And he's a 4A player. So is Joey Anderson. They've had a lot of those guys. All of a sudden you look at this lineup and it's just all NHL forwards. I loved what I saw tonight. I'm really encouraged by it. Again, one game against a lousy team on a night where the building is red hot and there's big time energy in the building. But I think this team needed a shot in the arm right now. I think home ice matters. I think getting those extra 2 weeks to figure out what these guys matters. And I think what Ryan O'Reilly and what Noel Acciari bring to this team is exactly what they've been missing. It's hard for me to really nitpick it, even though, yeah, if they lose in the first round, that's always been the case. It's going to be a disaster. But now, especially when you sit at the draft floor and go, hey, Dubas, you guys don't even need to show up.
They're not there.
Imagine being in the scouting department. Those guys are just sitting there with their paper.
they're like, why do we even have scouts?
Dude, imagine the guys.
There should be no more amateur scouts for the Leafs. It's just pro scouts, only pro scouts. Sorry, amateur scouts, your jobs are now done because we don't have any more picks.
The guys who missed their daughter's birthday to be sleeping on a couch in Finland to watch some. Look at that trade. Just reading what they came up.
I'm ruined.
I hope they got something for that other than what they were already getting. Anyway, I'm a big fan of it. I like the trade. Again, it's a steep price, but it's a price that I basically expected. I thought maybe they were going to add they were going to have one less pick in there. Maybe they were going to throw in a Topi or a Robertson into a deal like this. But I'm definitely not doing the Leafs kept their best prospects thing, because they were never giving up Nyes because they continue to put themselves in that position where they haven't had first-round talent that's helped this team. And now all of a sudden, they really need that kid to supplement the next 3 years. So he's not going anywhere.
No, and listen, they gave up their second most valuable asset, which is the first-round pick this year. That's more whatever than the Topis and the Ronies and Fraser Minton or whatever. Their number one asset is Matthew Nyes, and their number 2 was this year's first-round pick, and they gave it up, and that's fine. I really don't want to get painted into the corner of guy who hates Ryan O'Reilly, because that's really my nightmare. I've always dreamt of Ryan O'Reilly on the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I had to pinch myself pretty hard tonight when I'm watching the starting lineup for the Toronto Maple Leafs be Mitch Marner, John Tavares, and Ryan O'Reilly. That's an incredible moment in Leaf fandom. And look, that first shift was absolutely electrifying.
Yeah.
I was like, oh my God, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. And then they didn't have a good shift for the rest of the game.
Yeah.
They had a couple where they got it in on the walls, but their chances flat out. They didn't have a ton of other chances throughout the game, but like that first shift was like, oh my God, they have the best line in hockey. This is unbelievable. So I have to say though, I wouldn't love playing Tavares and Ryan O'Reilly together a lot. Like I know, like you kind of glossed over it there when you were mentioning about the pace thing or whatever. I don't think those two guys playing together against anybody that's got a lot of speed is a recipe for success. Like, I think we know that the speed was not Ryan O'Reilly's game. Like, I think everybody who, when they made that trade, they knew he's not Mr. Fleet of Foot. He's not a burner. It's not at all what his game is. But I think he may be way more well suited playing with a couple guys with pace. Like, I could really picture him playing with a Yarncroc, playing with an Engvall, playing with somebody on the third line where he elevates that third line even further. I know you mentioned that, but I wouldn't say I necessarily loved the mix of O'Reilly and Tavares other than below the hash marks and below the dots, like you said. But you got to get the puck there. You still need to get the puck down there, which could be a bit of a labor when those two guys are playing together. But God, you're right. Those two guys are, just horses. They're a lot to deal with in front of the net. They're just big bodies battling, and they're really good with tips and sticks and on their backhand around the net. So maybe you go to that in a power play situation, or if we need a big goal down late or something, you put those two guys out there when you have the offensive zone. Yep. But I would say I'm a little bit worried about the pace with those two guys playing together against faster teams.
But that's the thing. That was always going to be the trouble with Ryan O'Reilly, is he's not fleet of foot. And you saw that tonight. There were a couple moments in transition defensively where you went, oh boy, he looked like he was stuck in mud a little bit.
Skate with a backpack on at some points.
But also he was never a speed and pace guy. And this is my kind of point that I've always made about building the two teams, right? One for the playoffs and one for the regular season. In a regular season right now, where you're watching a guy like Ryan O'Reilly on a crappy St. Louis team where they're giving him no fun minutes, where they're asking him to do a lot of D-zone stuff.
He's playing against every team's top group, just getting caved in, playing with bad teammates, bad goaltending. Like, it's tough. It's a tough situation.
But that's where you're going to start talking about his speed, right?
Yes.
You're going to start pointing out the parts of his game that aren't the same anymore, because he's going to become a player who gets acquired at the deadline, and he's an older player at the deadline. It's very rare. There's only a couple of guys every year. Like, look at the situation that had to happen for Bo Horvat to get traded, or what's going to happen for Timo Meier, right? Like, there are those rarity guys that are entering that echelon of, remember when Mark Stone got traded from the Senators, right? Like, there's that caliber of player that is going into the $10+ million contract that's available at the deadline because their team is not going to keep them and they want assets back. And then there's the journeyman vets who have done it before, who are coming up on the ends of their deal or coming up on spots where they're not competitive anymore. And what happens? People nitpick their games. That's what happens. And he was never a burner. He's a this is what he is.
He's a plotter.
He's a guy that is beloved in the room. I asked around today. I was telling you earlier when I saw you, I was firing out some texts to some people that either played with him, coached with him, have been around him in his career. The guy is someone that when he's on, they talk about like, dude, who cares? What is the thing about this team at times that has been missing? A guy who cares. A guy who can step into this roster and give them some of those intangibles. A guy who, below, and when they go up against the boards, you're going to feel like, yo, he's going to come out with
he
that.
He can win a puck battle.
He's going to get that puck.
Yeah.
He's going to win in front of the net. And you know what his elite trait is? For those that don't know, I know you know this, but it's hand-eye. That's what this guy is elite at. Hand-eye coordination. You know what that's going to be really good with? When they need a greasy goal in the playoffs and Mitch Marner funnels one towards the net and he's able to get a stick on one.
Just chopping at. So, listen. No,
I
you're
just
right.
think we're going to judge him in the playoffs is all. Like, it's just looking at his foot speed and some of the stuff that he isn't going to do right now, some of the fits that he's going to have. I think you're right that ultimately the place that I'd really most excited to see him is on the third line when they get Matthew Nyes, and then deciding, who's going to play on that other wing with them and how they're going to try to balance those out to find three lines and then have that just like kill the clock group that's going to involve Engvall and Camp and probably Kerfoot.
So
Zach Anderson-Reese, sorry.
By the way, Matthew Nyes scored overtime winner tonight against Penn State after scoring
6 game-winning goals for him now this season.
Yeah, we like that. I just also wanted to mention another thing about Ryan O'Reilly that is very important to me and matters to me. Just elite hockey style. Guy looks unbelievable.
10 out of 10. The tooth, the beard, everything.
He's a handsome son of a bitch. He looks great out there. Like he's got the old school Bauer bucket, like the 4,500,
no
the
visor.
white chin strap. He's got the skates tucked in right. Like the jersey's fitting perfect. He looks like he's from the area. I get it. He looks like he was born to wear the blue and white. Like he really does look like he's been a Leaf his whole life. After seeing him in the jersey for the first time, I'm like, I regret every take I've ever had on this immediately. He just looks so good in the jersey. He really does.
Well, he's gone 3 straight teams wearing blue.
But still, though, this one's different.
I'm just saying we've seen him win a cup.
And the Blues have gorgeous jerseys, too.
I know. So, I'm just saying we saw him win a cup wearing blue.
They're wearing their white jersey when they won.
Yeah, it translates a little bit more when that ends up happening. Anyway, the guy that really popped tonight, though, is Noel Acciari, who you and I were joking a little bit earlier about how, he's faced the Leafs in playoff series before. He's with the Bruins, and it's not like I had all these glowing, oh my God, I'm afraid of Noel Acciari takes, but he popped tonight, man. And again, it's the difference between an NHLer who has had 53 postseason games, I want to say, versus a guy like Pontus Holmberg or Joey Anderson, who is like desperately trying to cling to being able to play 8 minutes a night in the NHL.
Just going back to our text that we sent earlier in this game. I said Acciari was the centerpiece, and you said Acciari is my favorite Leaf. Yeah. And then I laughed, and you said trade 34 to clear cap space for him this summer. And that was after he just threw like a nondescript hit along the boards, where I was like, oh my God. Oh.
I think he had 5 or 6 hits tonight. No. Your mic just dropped out.
Dropped out?
Oh, yeah. No, for a second there. Now it's back. What were you saying?
Okay. I just said that he had 2 or 3 really good chances tonight, like to actually score. And I thought he was mixing it up like below the net, hitting guys, kind of involved. So I like that from him tonight. I thought he had a really good debut for the Leafs.
Yeah, he popped. Again,
that made that fourth line relevant. Like I thought Zach Aston-Reeves was trying way harder than he usually has in the past. Well, not trying hard, but it looked more noticeable. Kerfoot looked good on that fourth line. So I thought they had a little bit more identity. And like you said, it just looked like there's more guys. They just look like a team full of NHL guys now.
Just everyone got properly slotted.
Yeah.
And now again, you have the ability as this team to not force David Kampf up the lineup or force Alex Kerfoot into playing center where he's just not nearly as good at it. Man, they traded for Alex Kerfoot. They thought he could play center. It hasn't been a thing the entire time he's been a Maple Leaf. And you and I like David Kampf, but dude, he just scored a layup of a goal tonight to crack a 0 for 28 streak with a goal. Like, it's just they did not have that punch down the lineup, and now all of a sudden you can knock a player or two down, and you just have NHL players all the way through the top 12 with, again, a 13th forward coming who's the best prospect that you have in the system, who's 20 years old and has 6 game-winning goals in college.
So I think the final piece to this deadline is to add one more piece on the back end.
Yep.
And I thought, Sandin has been pretty bad here for quite a long stretch of time. I would say maybe the last month or the last few weeks, at least, he hasn't really been playing that well. And I didn't think he had a really good start to the game tonight. I thought him and Hall were pretty bad. I think there's still a promise for Sandin to be a really, decent NHLer, but his trajectory in terms of what he is not matching up with sort of like what they did at this deadline, trading all those picks to get, it doesn't match up with developing Sandin. Like, to me, it's starting to become more and more clear that if they're going to maybe trade someone now that they've traded all their picks in next 2 years drafts to get a bona fide defenseman, maybe he's somebody that you look at doing it with. Do you agree or no?
I mean, I've been doing this for weeks.
Yeah.
To me, he's too small. He's too slow.
Yeah. And he gets hemmed in by bigger teams so badly.
I don't even need to qualify this with the whole, like, he could be amazing. I don't think he's going to be amazing. I think
he'd be a decent NHLer.
He's a 5th or 6th defenseman, maybe a 4 guy. Maybe he can run a second power play. Like, I don't see it, and I don't see the fit with this team now or even in the future. Like, people are talking about how they don't have defensemen under contract, whatever. It's like, he's not the guy you want to go in the postseason with. And you just gave Connor Timmins a contract extension on the cheap that gives you a little bit of a buffer for the next 2 years. So it's like, you look down the left side at what they have under contract with giving Morgan Riley that extension. There's just no room for Sandin here. He's not a fit for this group in a postseason series. Like, it's just, there's no reality where I'm going to feel that way. And so, if a team wants to give you something for Rasmus Sandin, I think now is the time to trade him because the team gets a year and a half of control. They get him into the building. He gets to end up having the full camp. You know, you bring him in and you hope that he can develop into that like kind of first round talent. I don't see it. I think that if you wait, then all you're doing is devaluing him as a player because he's likely not going to play in the playoffs. He's certainly not going to play every game. Like maybe he's in another lineup for the playoffs. I don't think there's a 7D situation anymore, but all you're going to end up doing is knocking down his price. So yeah, I'm with you. I'd say move him now. Okay. From tonight, again, I thought that the forward balance was nice. I thought that the Leafs forecheck was noticeably better. I thought that the energy in the building was obvious and that the players really fed off of it. I'm really happy with that. I will say that maybe this is my old negative Nancy part of me is as much as I love the flexibility and I love the pop, and I think that they needed it right now because the Leafs had felt flat for a little while since coming out of the break. Maybe that's just the opponent. Who knows what that is? But I like that they're going to have these extra opportunities to pass Tampa or put some space between them and Tampa. But I did think about something like you get that pop a couple of weeks later might be better for you from an energy standpoint. I don't know what the pros and cons of that are. But anyways, I think the only guy to really talk about tonight game-wise.
That's interesting. They should have waited a little bit longer to pull the energy.
Yeah, I just think that it's like the shot.
The lever?
Group. Yeah,
the lever?
Like the lever. Yeah. The lever.
Yeah.
I'm just saying that it's the little bit of a counterbalance to you get more time to be creative with your lines and build chemistry and
fair enough.
stack points. Because like that was noticeable tonight. That they kind of, they used a bullet on the Montreal Canadiens on a hockey night in Canada.
I mean, they haven't beat the Habs yet this year, so maybe they needed it.
I can't believe Josh Anderson scored again on them too. But
I can.
You can't believe that. I kind of want to talk about Joe Woll because he looked really shaky early on in the game, and I was basically like, "Holy crap, you can't have put Shalgren in to start the second period." I thought that his dad was the scorekeeper because the Habs had like 14 shots. I was like, how do you have 14 shots when Joe Woll didn't make a save? I don't understand how that's how that's a thing, but it was. I thought he settled in as the game went on, and then he actually made a couple of saves for them to just like not have the game get into nervous territory. So nice little building block for the kid who I didn't feel very good about through his first, 4 periods as a Leaf.
I agree with you. And he made 2 really nice saves on odd man rushes right before the Leafs scored the second goal to go up 2-1 when it was still a tie game. I think was it Hoffman that he stoned to the 2-on-1 where he came across, made a really nice blocker save or was it Hoffman or Anderson or somebody? Anyways, it was one of the
guy. It was a guy who I knew.
Okay. Well, Hoffman. I know Hoffman. Wasn't it him?
No, I know. I don't think it was. Maybe it was. Anyways,
who cares? Yeah, who cares? But it just he looked really solid on that play, and it kind of built. I think he kind of built confidence from that, and he went on. And I agree with you. Like he looked 10 times more comfortable after the first period, and maybe making a couple big saves, feeling it. Having the building be supportive. And listen, playing goalie in the NHL can't be that. It's pretty hard. It's a hard thing to do. And like making a couple big saves can go a long way for your confidence. And now maybe he feels like he belongs a little bit and they can have a bit of a run here where he's the real backup because, Murray's now on LTIR.
Tomorrow night?
Probably not. No.
Why not?
I mean, he's an AHLer. He's used to 3-on-3s. Maybe he can go again.
Just play him again. I
sure.
Right into the next
listen, I don't hate that idea. But I'm not going to die on either hill. Like if they go with Shalgren, it's fine. I don't really care. But if they go with Woll, I think it'd be a fine choice. And I think he'd be capable. I mean, the Hawks are really bad, although they just beat the Senators somehow yesterday. And Patty Kane had 2 goals. But
the Senators are one of the most pathetic defensive units that have ever been assembled.
And they got me in net. So it's not really a pretty situation for them. But I'd probably roll back with Woll tomorrow night and see how he does. I was impressed with you, man. Like I think that was a real nice confidence building win for him. Get that under his belt for this year and maybe build some momentum to be the backup because I don't know how the hell long Murray's going to be out. He's on the LTIR now. I don't know what the cap gymnastics they're doing are with him on that, but I think they're going to need him here. And Samsonov's sick. Why not? I'll give him another one. You've convinced me.
Well, Shalgren's on the bench tonight.
Yeah.
Poor guy. He just always looks sad.
He's got a sad face.
I know he's just got a permanent sad look about him where he's like, it looks like they told him right before the game he was going to play. And then they're like, nah,
tricked ya.
And he's sitting there all night looking sour. he's had worse stats in the AHL. He's like the only Marley that somehow is putting up bad stats. He's played a bunch with the Leafs. I think that he's a 4A goalie type that you already kind of know what you have in him.
Yeah.
With Woll, that's the key for me is he's not supposed to factor in the come playoff time at all.
No, of course not.
You're dead if he does anyway. There's no like, oh, he got an extra game against the Blackhawks. He's like, but there is a part of me that goes, well, Matt Murray now has been hurt twice, and I'm not banking on the fact that, oh, he gets back healthy and he's fine again. I think you just continue to give the ball to a guy that could end up being your backup this year. Hell, maybe he's their backup next year if Ilya Samsonov wants the bag and they can't get something done there. So, yeah, I think you roll the kid. I don't think that the workload was anything crazy tonight. You're playing Chicago. Like, it's a pretty feeble opponent. Give him a shot.
You're right. Bunting?
Yeah. Other thing, Matthews tonight.
And Bunting. You want to go Matthews first?
You can go Bunting if you want. My Matthews thing is very short. He loves the Habs. Like, he likes to feast on them, and there's something about, like, it's like a bull sees red. Matthews sees those Habs jerseys, and he's like, yeah, I'm going to turn it on. The play he made on the boards, like taking two guys on and then just finding William Nylander for a little tap in was just gorgeous. I thought he was kind of hunting his shot again tonight. He just felt dangerous. It felt like he was playing with his food. I liked him.
You know what? It made me think of like an NBA play where the guy's like, you're too small. You're too small. When he just like busted out of there, and it's just this big 6'3" guy who's so super strong at his skates, big upper body, just plows through there. Honestly, it gave me a little bit of Mario Lemieux-esque the way he went through there. It was just like, oh my God, that was breathtaking. And then the no-look pass on the tape to Willie. He loves to kill the Habs, and that might be my favorite thing about Austin Matthews is that he legitimately hates the Habs and he loves to light the Habs up. He used to light Carey Price up. Every game they played in the Bell Center, like with Carey Price, he'd go bar down on him and love it, except for, game.
I was going to say, except for when it mattered the most.
Except for game 5, 6, and 7. But we're not thinking about that. Bubble hockey didn't count. Was that bubble? Oh, no, it wasn't bubble.
They were rattled from Tavares being hurt. No, Tenya was a sleeper agent. It wasn't fair. It was
that didn't count.
It didn't count.
But no, I agree. I thought he was excellent tonight. And I thought Bunting was excellent tonight too.
Same.
He had a couple goals and he's just popping. He was in the mix. Like I thought he was playing on that line tonight. He wasn't over the top in terms of his whining and screaming at the refs and whatever. He was in the blue paint. He scored 2 really nice goals, nice one-timers, both of them. So off a nice pass, by the way, from Ryan O'Reilly off the wall into the middle for that secondary assist. That was a really nice play. But yeah, thought Bunting was really good as the price goes up, Bunk.
Yeah. I still don't know what the future holds for him. I'm just going to kind of enjoy the now, but
absolutely.
I really respect that Michael Bunting is able to bring it the same way basically every single night.
Yeah. Yep.
That he's just been a consistent player. You know what you're getting when you slot him in the lineup, and there's been a little bit more of that scoring touch. And I think that, like, the way that he celebrates, I don't know if it's me projecting, but it's almost like he knows he's getting more money on every goal, so he's just like extra amped up on it.
There's a few Selly guys in the league. Yeah. He's in the top 10 of hard Selly guys in the league, no doubt. Like he loves a goal.
Yeah.
Like he goes down that little crouch and he's like, he's like, I'm so rich. I'm rich.
I think I've mentioned this before, but he really does play with real enthusiasm, and I respect the hell out of it. Like he's obviously annoying as hell to the opponent, and he's always yapping.
And to me sometimes.
Yeah, of course. Oh, when he does the diving, I think that all Leaf fans of a certain age, especially,
at a certain location, Maple and Etobicoke.
Yeah. That's it. But yeah, no, he was good again tonight. Let me just fly through my notes here, but I don't think I have anything else. I other than that Habs team, just really nothing. Oh, I will say one bad negative thing I did have in the notes. The goal that the Habs scored was just such a soft play by Morgan Riley, and those are the things
we couldn't go through 35 without Morgan Riley. You're right.
Fine, I shouldn't have done it. But it was very soft. It was just like, hey, here, have it, and I'm like,
and then the half stride back towards the front of the net where it's like it was not pretty. It was not pretty. Brody lost his man. That was just a bad goal. But listen. They won 5-1, so it's hard to nitpick on it, but it was a pretty ugly goal.
There was also there was a stretch in that game where it felt like the Habs had 4 2-on-1s in a row.
They did. that they didn't feel like that. That happened very clearly.
I know.
And Joe Woll bailed them out, and then they went down and they put it away, and we forgot about those until right now. But
those were some sticky, sweaty moments where I was like, "Are you kidding me? Like, you guys, you really wanted to give Ryan O'Reilly and Acciari the full tour. You decided to show them everything. You went, and this is where we do the PB whack."
I was like, and yeah, they even decided to show them the dirt floor basement. They're like, "Here's the basement.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
it's unfinished right now."
Yeah, lots of spider webs, but I'll get rid of don't go in that crawl space. Actually, yes, we're going in that crawl space.
Shout out to Hockey Night in Canada producer extraordinaire. Don't know who does it on the truck, but the goal goes in for the Habs. Bang, right on Ryan O'Reilly's face, looking up towards the scoreboard. I'm like, oh, no one's safe. This guy's debut. Go producers, go, right in his face. Loved it.
That was a tough one. Okay, so yeah, we're back tomorrow night. More of this. I do hope that tomorrow night Keefe just continues to tinker. Like, I'd love to see him bump Ryan O'Reilly down. I should also mention too, as a kudos thing, I don't think we give John Tavares enough credit for stuff. Like, I know it's hockey, and I know that it's kind of expected from guys like him, but the fact that like he would just move off center for a game and let the other guy just go down the middle and move to the wing, captain the team, I thought that was like a real nice character move.
I completely agree. And I will also say that it was probably the greatest night of his life. He's like, oh my God. He's like, winger is so easy. He's like, I should have played wing my whole life. Like, what am I doing? I played crappy hockey, and like anytime I had to play center, it's a nightmare. Like, who would ever do this? Like, you have to play defense and offense. Yeah. Tavares is like, I'm out on the wing. All I have to do is just touch the puck and go to the net. Like, this is sick. Let Ryan O'Reilly play center.
I do have that appreciation for Tavares sometimes of he doesn't need the spotlight at all ever. No, and he is a guy
low maintenance superstar. Yeah,
exactly. Like I think that conversation was not even like nobody involved in the Maple Leafs was like, "Hey John, we're going to move you to the wing." And then they no one above him was like, "How are we going to approach this?"
No. They just asked him, and he's like, "Yeah, no problem."
Yeah, fine. Yeah, cool. Hey, happy to play with a great player.
Obviously, a tremendous honor to get to play with Ryan O'Reilly.
Another captain I can learn a lot from.
He said that this morning.
He did?
Yes.
No way.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. That's his stock.
You got him right between the eyes. He said that literally this morning.
Sorry, JT.
That's
anyway,
incredible.
All right, let's wrap this sucker up. Again, we're back tomorrow. Leafs, Blackhawks, and then a fun one on Tuesday. This is Leafs Talk, JD Bunkis, Sam McKee, a.k.a. Rusty Ron. We'll see how long the duster lasts. We'll catch you tomorrow night. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching.